Egypt has been excavated for over 200 years, and it still refuses to give up its secrets. A face carved 4,500 years ago that no one can confidently name. A tomb sealed for millennia that turns out to be empty. A dog buried like royalty next to two human bodies for reasons no inscription fully explains. This year, teams of archaeologists across Egypt opened new ground, and instead of answers, they found more questions. A pyramid abandoned mid-construction. A cave full of dismantled boats 3 miles from the sea. A royal brewery big enough to fill a stadium that nobody was ever meant to drink from. Today, we're going inside 9 of ancient Egypt's most persistent, unsolved mysteries, the ones modern archaeology is only now starting to crack open. Let's go underground. The Great Sphinx of Giza is one of the most photographed monuments on Earth. It is also one of the least understood. Egyptologists broadly agree it was carved around 4,500 years ago, in the same era as the Giza pyramids. What they don't agree on is the one detail that should be the simplest: whose face is staring back at us? Researchers have used digital reconstructions to imagine how the face looked when it was new, smooth-nosed, brightly painted, framed by a formal royal headdress. With that reconstruction in hand, they've tried to match it against the few surviving portraits of Old Kingdom pharaohs. One candidate is Khufu, builder of the Great Pyramid. He shares the same square jawline as the Sphinx. The problem is, almost nothing survives of Khufu's face, just a single statuette barely the size of a thumb. The Sphinx once wore a formal beard, much like the one worn by Khufu's son, Khafre, who built the pyramid directly behind it. But that original beard broke apart in antiquity, and a different one was added long after the fact, which means even that clue can't fully settle the question. Matching faces in Egyptian art, researchers admit, is an inexact science at best. The leading theory still points to Khafre, but leading theory is not the same as proof, and the placement itself is a clue nobody can ignore. A Sphinx's traditional job was to guard something sacred. This one sits perfectly positioned to protect Khafre's tomb, which is the strongest circumstantial case archaeology has. Strong enough to guess, not strong enough to prove. For now, one of the most recognizable faces on the planet remains officially unidentified. 400 miles south of Giza, in a quarry called Gebel el Silsila, archaeologists found something that shouldn't exist: a second Sphinx, unfinished, abandoned, still sitting exactly where the ancient workers left it. Unlike the lion-bodied Sphinx at Giza, this one has the head of a ram, a cryo-sphinx, carved directly out of the quarry wall itself. The evidence suggests it was meant for the Avenue of the Sphinxes, the great ceremonial road once lined with ram-headed statues connecting the temples of Luxor and Karnak. But it never made that journey, and archaeologists wanted to know why. Beneath the statue, the team found something telling. The rock had already been quarried away to slide a sledge underneath it. This Sphinx wasn't stuck, it was ready to move. So the team searched the surrounding rock for a written explanation and found faded red inscriptions, almost invisible to the naked eye. Digital enhancement revealed a long snout, an emphasized eye, rows of teeth, and the unmistakable curve of a heavy belly. Not a royal monument, a worker's personal prayer scratched into the stone. The figure is Taweret, the hippopotamus goddess of protection, a quarry laborer working in dangerous conditions with a short life expectancy had asked her to keep him safe. That same inscription carries a date, deep into the reign of Amenhotep III. His son and successor did something no pharaoh had done before. He abandoned Egypt's traditional gods altogether, Taweret the hippo, Sobek the crocodile, even the mighty lion goddess Sekhmet, in favor of a single deity, the sun disk Aten. He even changed his own name to Akhenaten. The theory now forming is that the moment religious power shifted, the order came down to stop work instantly, mid-carve, never to resume. A 4,000-year-old sphinx frozen at the exact second Egypt changed its mind about its gods.
Near Aswan, in a necropolis called Kubet El Hawa, a team unearths a skull rising out of the sand. Then a second. The jaws are enormous, teeth 2 inches long. It's a crocodile. Then, impossibly, a second crocodile lying right beside it. By the time the team finishes clearing the site, they've counted 11 crocodile skeletons in total, the first ever found at this necropolis in over a decade of digging here. These aren't the bones of animals that wandered in and died. Dark residue and preserved tissue point to something deliberate. These crocodiles were mummified, and that's a problem, because the moment sun and air hit an unearthed mummy, the clock starts running. In 90-degree heat, the most intact skeleton in the group begins to deteriorate within minutes of exposure. The team races to stabilize it, following the same delicate protocol used for human mummies, because one wrong move and thousands of years of preservation collapse in seconds. The likely explanation reaches back to Sobek, the crocodile god, believed to have shaped the Nile itself. Wealthy Egyptians sometimes kept live crocodiles as sacred pets, fed, jeweled, and honored before mummifying them as offerings when they died. But Sobek worship had never been documented this far south before. If confirmed, it means a cult that scholars thought was confined to one region was actually far more widespread than anyone realized. 11 mummified crocodiles in a place they were never supposed to be. And the deeper question, why here and who exactly was worshipping them, is still being pieced together. Near the Valley of the Kings, a Spanish team returns to a family tomb they were forced to abandon the year before, mid-excavation. They'd covered the remains before leaving, hoping it would be enough to protect them for 12 months. It worked. 2 human mummies still intact, and a third, much smaller mummy beside them. At first glance, its size and shape suggests an infant, but the wrapping is all wrong. A single layer instead of 3, limbs bound together rather than separately. Then the teeth come into view. This isn't a child, it's a dog. In Egyptian belief, dogs were living representations of Anubis, guardian of the afterlife, the god who weighed a person's heart against a feather to decide their fate. But this dog wasn't buried separately the way most animal offerings were. It was placed directly across the feet of the 2 humans beside it, a positioning the team had never seen before. Cleaning the surrounding wall, the team finds an inscription naming the tomb's owner, seated with an offering table in front of him, and at his feet, a dog. Its name is recorded, Heken. The inscription and the burial match. Heken wasn't a sacrificial offering to a god. He was a family pet, deliberately mummified and laid to rest with the people who loved him, so he could join them
in the afterlife. It's a rare, deeply human discovery, proof that 4,000 years ago, someone couldn't bear the thought of the afterlife without their dog. Back at Giza, a low ruin sits almost unnoticed at the Sphinx's paws, a temple built from the same oversized limestone blocks left over from carving the Sphinx. Standing at its eastern corner, researchers noticed something the builders clearly intended, a perfect line of sight straight to the Sphinx's face. And that alignment doesn't stop there. The Sphinx's right shoulder lines up exactly with the temple's axis and with the corner of Khafre's pyramid rising behind it. Twice a year, on the spring and autumn equinox, the sun sets into precisely that point, sinking into the shoulder of the Sphinx and the flank of the pyramid at the exact same moment. On the summer solstice, the effect shifts again. The sun sets squarely between the two largest pyramids, forming a shape ancient Egyptians recognized as a hieroglyph for rebirth. None of this appears to be accidental. The Sphinx, the temple, and the pyramid seem to form one connected machine, a monument engineered around the movement of the sun. When Khafre died, his body would have arrived by boat at a port built for exactly this purpose, before being carried up a causeway and sealed inside the pyramid to await resurrection. Today, the Sphinx sits alone, disconnected from the machine it was built to be. But for a brief window in Egyptian history, it may have been the figurehead of the most ambitious resurrection device ever constructed. 100 miles from Giza, cut into remote cliffs above the Red Sea, lies a site most tourists have never heard of, Wadi Eljarf. Inside these hand-carved caves, a French-led team is following a trail that starts with what's been called one of the most important discoveries in Egypt this century, the world's oldest surviving papyri. The documents form the diary of a middle-ranking official named Merer, who managed a crew hauling limestone blocks down the Nile for Khufu's Great Pyramid, the only surviving eyewitness account of that construction ever found. But Merer's diary never explains why he and his men would have come all the way out here. The caves themselves start filling in the blanks. Hundreds of storage jars, cave after cave, likely used to hold drinking water hauled from a spring 6 miles away. On several jar fragments, a red inscription repeats, a shortened phrase identifying a specific work crew, those known to King Khufu. Evidence of an organized labor system, complete with team names, working out here far from any pyramid. Then, scattered through the sand, come pieces that don't belong in a storage cave at all. Fragments of rope, fabric, and a wooden joint used specifically to hold boat planks together. The conclusion forming is remarkable. This wasn't a warehouse, it was a naval base. Boats were sailed in, taken apart, and stored inside the cliffs themselves. And from the cave entrance, the destination is visible on a clear day, the coast of Sinai, source of the copper Egypt needed to keep forging tools for the pyramid builders. By boat, that copper run took a single day instead of a week overland. And when winter storms made sailing too dangerous, the fleet was simply dismantled and hidden inside the mountain until the next expedition. 600 years before the Great Pyramid, at a sacred site called Abydos, an American-led team is digging down through layer after layer of Egyptian history, chasing the very beginning of it. Under nearly 10 feet of later remains, they uncover an intact vessel, and its distinctive cone shape places it precisely at the dawn of Egyptian civilization, the reign of Egypt's very first king, Narmer.
Nearby, two mysterious structures emerge, long, narrow, and lined with what looks like brick. Nothing like a tomb, nothing like a chapel. At the bottom, a thick layer of charcoal reveals the truth. The entire structure functioned as one giant firebox. Residue analysis inside the vessels reveals a mash of grain and water, the unmistakable signature of large-scale beer production. As the dig widens, the team maps out 7 separate brewing structures, each over 100 feet long, some fitted with up to 80 vats apiece. Scaled up, the math is almost unbelievable. Enough beer in a single week to give every seat in a 90,000-person stadium a full pint. Produced, remarkably, at the very start of Egyptian history. But here's the detail that changes everything. No drinking cups have ever been found alongside these jars. Every single one was found already opened, its contents poured out. The beer, it seems, was never meant to be drunk at all. It was poured away entirely as a ritual offering, a public, repeated demonstration of exactly how much the king could command and afford to waste. It's a blueprint for everything that follows in Egyptian history. Kings proving their power not just through what they built, but through what they could deliberately throw away. In the remote Fayum desert stands a ruin most visitors walk straight past, the Pyramid of Sela. Unassuming, half-collapsed, and possibly one of the most important pyramids ever built. Every pyramid before this one was stepped, tiered, unmistakably tomb-like. The great smooth-sided pyramids everyone recognizes hadn't been invented yet. The question is, did that invention start right here? In the archives of an earlier excavation, researchers find a rare limestone fragment, a scale drawing, scratched by hand, showing what appears to be a smooth, sloped pyramid shape. To confirm it, the team needs to find the pyramid's original foundation, buried, if it survives at all, just beneath the surface. A few inches down, their trowels hit stone. A forensic engineer arrives with a high-resolution laser scanner, capable of capturing the ruin's surface down to a fraction of a millimeter, enough detail to reconstruct exactly what erosion has worn away. Back in the trench, the team finds a distinct groove cut into the bedrock, a builder's lip, designed to lock the pyramid's foundation stones in place and stop them sliding outward under pressure. That lip gives them the pyramid's exact footprint. Combined with the laser scan data, they can now calculate its original height and reconstruct the angle of its long-lost sides. The result comes back at just under 52 degrees, the signature angle of every true, smooth-sided pyramid that follows it in Egyptian history. It's strong evidence that this modest ruin in the middle of nowhere may be the very first true pyramid ever attempted, the blueprint decades before Khufu's son would perfect it at Giza.
Not every Egyptian mystery involves pyramids. Some of the most powerful pharaohs in history built tombs so unconventional that history nearly erased them completely. At Deir el-Bahari, a pharaoh named Menemhotep II, the king who reunited in Egypt after decades of civil conflict, built something that looked nothing like a pyramid at all, a terraced temple cut straight into the mountainside. Hidden within it, a corridor plunges 500 feet into the bedrock, ending in a burial chamber lined with imported red granite, proof this king wanted a resting place unlike anything built before him. A few hundred years later, near Abydos, another king took the idea even further. Senwosret III's tomb descends over 260 feet underground, blocked by 6-foot slabs of red granite meant to seal it forever.
And strangely, the tunnels don't stop at his sarcophagus. They continue for another 250 feet in a sweeping snake-like curve, a design researchers believe was meant to model the architecture of the underworld itself. His son, Amenemhat III, tried something even bolder, reviving the underground maze of Egypt's very first pyramid at Saqqara, built 700 years earlier, in an attempt to link himself to that golden age. But he built it on soft floodplain clay instead of solid bedrock. Groundwater seeped upward, the tunnels cracked, and ancient workers were forced to shore up the ceilings with timber almost as soon as they built them. The project failed. The king was never buried in what became known as the Black Pyramid, only his queen. A monument meant to prove his power instead became a costly, visible failure. Elsewhere in Aswan, a team spends 5 years chasing an even more personal mystery, the missing mummy of a Middle Kingdom governor named Sarenput. His monumental tomb has every mark of royal favor, except a body. Deep inside a newly opened chamber, the team finds pottery, bandages, human remains, but the dates don't match. Everything inside belongs to a period 300 years after Sarenput died. A faded inscription nearby offers a twist, the name of one of Sarenput's own sons. The chamber, it turns out, wasn't built for the governor at all. It was built for his children. Sarenput's own mummy is still missing, but archaeologists now understand why so much of this era has been forgotten. Many of its greatest tombs were built to be hidden underground, or built from mud brick that simply crumbled to dust over the centuries, leaving almost nothing behind for history to remember them by. A face still unnamed, a sphinx frozen mid-carve, a cult of crocodiles no one expected, a dog buried like family, a machine built around the sun, a fleet hidden inside a mountain, a river of beer poured into the sand, a pyramid that may have started it all, and pharaohs so powerful history nearly forgot them anyway. Every one of these discoveries came from the same 8-week excavation season, which means everything you just watched represents only a fraction of what's still under the sand. For every mystery archaeologists manage to solve here, the ground seems to open up 2 more. So here's a question for you. Out of everything we just covered, the Sphinx's true face, the abandoned ram sphinx, the crocodile cult, or Sarenput's missing mummy, which mystery do you think gets solved first? Drop your theory in the comments below. I read every single one, and I'll pin the best ones. And if you want to be there the moment the next tomb is opened, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because Egypt isn't finished surprising us. Thanks for watching. I'll see you underground.